Hey there, it is Phoenix Amore. So basically, as I continue putting videos out, some conversations, like I tell people, when I know the person is coming from a good place, I'm very receptive to it. So ironically enough, when I talk about how I end up in certain places, when I talked about a long time ago that mind, body, spirit, right, expo that I ended up at, there was this lady that was hiding the paintings when she was getting intuitive impressions painting angels at the Last Supper. And I was meant to find her, older lady. This is what's interesting about people who are quote unquote archangelic, right? You never know, does not matter age, because that's where this term old soul comes into play. So I was meant to, and sometimes I just know. It's a very weird drifting feeling in me when I'm walking into a place and I'm like, let me see what message I'm supposed to deliver to this or to a person, whoever it's going to be. And it just so happened in that case it was her. So with that said, I also used to go to a hairdresser very briefly that was a Buddhist. So we had a couple of conversations, and there that is. Interestingly enough, this woman that I was speaking to yesterday, Hindu. So I didn't immediately shut down to her message at all. I was like, cool, what, as after I did the reading, and we kind of exchanged some ideas about some stuff. She's into Vedic astrology, right? And she's learning that. I'm not into Vedic. I'm into more Western. Does that mean I will not ever study Vedic? No. And I don't get into that mindset where I'm like Vedic versus Western. I don't do all that because I think both have a certain element to them that basically can actually coincide with each other. So with that being said, the thing that I want to stress is when she told me what she did about the prices and all that kind of stuff, it hit home. When a message hits home to you, you can receive it. Because one of the things I had always had a hang up about, depending on who I was around, right? Because I wanted to be available, just like I said in my Facebook video, to as many people as possible. Sometimes you can give too much to where you basically are extending yourself and giving everything, and you are left with nothing. And it finally dawned on me that that's not what God wanted for me. So will I charge crazy amounts? No. But she basically said, you are so gifted, and she wasn't kissing butt. It was very genuine, and that's the thing that I knew is coming from her heart. You are very gifted, and you are worth. So when I talked about value and all that kind of stuff, she ended up being a bit of a bridge for me to say, you know what, there's your validation. And the thing that I want to stress about our conversation that was so beautiful is she actually asked me a question that I could explain to her very thoroughly. She asked me about medium stuff, and I said, here's the thing. I am, and this is what somebody else had picked up on me very strongly, I am very much so a natural medium. But one thing she said that I said that's the best attitude to have. She will not go seeking out. That is key. If you notice, it's almost like I let God send me, right, certain places. So when you think, is she tapping into that intentionally? No, it's literally like God saying, these spirits that are walking the earth, which are in the Bible, it says it in the Bible, unclean spirits or lost spirits and all that, even Azrael, the certain angels that went to retrieve certain lost souls, is real. And so when I talked about the whole astral travel per se, right, that's what I was speaking of. So God literally sends me in sleep state, sends my higher self, I want to say, to certain areas or to certain people where I can see. I'm like, I don't know what entity that is. When I use the cop situation as an example, that was a very real thing. So understanding that, I told her that's very smart. I said, it's the people that try to pull certain spirits to them. Like somebody seeking a medium reading. I want to connect to Aunt Sarah or Grandma, Jennifer, whatever. You risk the risk an issue of basically conjuring up the spirit, right? And so that's why when I talked about Saul and all that, and I talked about how the witches actually tried to go retrieve the prophet's spirit, guess what? Wrong spirit, because that's not how that works. That's the key thing to remember. So I don't do medium readings, right? But for the most part, if I'm in sleep state and that higher self is sent, right, to basically a spirit that's a little lost or whatever, that's how that works. That's it. I don't see things with my waking eye. And that's the thing that I explained to her again as we conversated. But moving forward, the thing that I want to express to people, a lot of people knew that I always had intentions on going to other spiritual seminars. And actually, I had just talked to, I think, my sister, And I said, I think I'm at a place where I'm meant to basically start doing, speaking engagements and doing speeches about spiritual stuff, wisdom and all that sort of thing, and begin to share in that capacity, still make my money, but to really do that. And the thing I had a hang up for a little bit, of course, about being mom, right, and feeling like I need to be always around the kids and all that kind of stuff. To some degree, there's periods in your life where you have to kind of put stuff on the back burner and say, right now, these kids need me, or those kids need me, and all that. But right now, what I know God wanted me to do was go into that hermit mode, which is exactly what I did. So coming out of it, one thing that I wanted to express, a rebuking, right? And I'm going to start doing this so people understand these terms that you hear in your life you don't even realize are actually biblical. So when I talked about rebuking, right, I talked about people reading my blog and saying, oh my gosh, she's using curse words, and oh, does she speak like that all the time? No. Now, sometimes I will say shit. That's a hereditary thing. I always crack a joke about that because my grandmother, as religious as she is, that's her word. That's like the period. I always joke and say that's like her period at the end of the sentence. That's just one of her flaws, as we'll say, which we all have. But moving forward, when I talked about rebuking, that is basically what expressing a disdain towards a person, or expressing, I didn't like what you did. Some people can't hear you unless you curse, and sadly enough, maybe because of the way they were raised, that's the language that they understand. That's why I said I speak all kind of languages. Some people, if they grew up in households where they had a mother or father always cursing at them, they don't get it until you take it there with them. And that's why certain things, when I blogged the way that I did, some people understood it like, oh yeah, she got a point. Even some military folks around cursing, oh, we got what she said. That's the thing you have to remember. So the term today, tongue lashing. Tongue lashing, if you think about the angel with the sword coming out of their mouth, that is a tongue lashing. So all these little slang terms that come to people's minds sometimes, you never even realize how it has that biblical connection. Even my dreams, the corn dream, I woke up cracking up like, why was I fighting something with corn? But it wasn't just the corn, it was the symbolism what God was showing me. Go to that Bible and go look. And sure enough, when I see how Jesus took disciples and apostles through the cornfields where he did most of his prominent, right, teaching, it was deep. God is like, you want some high level stuff. But I don't say that in a bragging manner. I say that in a manner where I'm telling the people who are trying to fake that right now, that's not okay. And what people have realized is now that you have social media, you have people trying to fake it and make it and really have not done any growing. They just pick somebody who actually went through the growth. Let me just mimic her and then I can supposedly be like her. God is not okay with that. If you did not do the work for real and you just thinking some little thing that's a little toy that you can just say, oh yeah, I'm going to all of a sudden say this, that is not okay. And what you will find is you will invite some stuff towards you fronting. Remember when I said people better be who they said they were? That's what I'm talking about. When stuff started hitting fan and all that around these same people that were fronting, right, about it, because you don't have the skills, right, to deal with what you conjured up. Conjuring is basically faking it. And so when I say something about conjuring up stuff, that's literally like somebody fronting like they have certain spiritual gifts, they don't. And then when stuff starts hitting the fan because they don't have the tools to have that discernment or know how to deal with it, that is something you conjured up. So now people understand a little bit more. More videos to come. Take care.